Coming up on Linux Gamecast Weekly, Unreal makes with the epic, GOG shows up late to the party, AMD updates some things, and we're giving away the papers. Please? Then we throw the chairs at Gigantic Army. All this, plus your 8 mil. Let's go. And welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. No exception this week. Unreal makes with something epic, GOG shows up late for the party, AMD updates some things, and retro pixel graphic goodness. I'm Ben Stone, switching the boards here at LGC Actual, joined every week by these two miscreants. Check them out, Jordan Svang, all the way in Canada. Hi, buddy.
Oh, hi, Mark. You look very beautiful in that red dress tonight.
You're just so fabulous with it.
Listen, you can take your stupid comments and stick them in your pocket.
Fuck, what color is that shirt?
It is some kind of reddish, light pink thing. I don't know. I bought it for work.
It genuinely looks diseased. And speaking of diseases...
Oh, hi.
The giggling death P-Man, Pedro Montes, with his rage, all the way from Portugal. Isn't he sweet?
And beer.
And beer, since he's now picked up a proper drinking habit. And together, with Chatroom Dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. But before we get started, we always like to catch up with what's been going on this week. J-Man, I heard you have to stay up late.
Oh, yeah, this is fun. Work-related things require me to stay up until about 5 o'clock in the morning today. And given that we generally shut down at about 1:30, 2 o'clock, this will be very, very interesting. Also, I fucked up my knee. That was fun. I slipped on a patch of ice, and that was interesting, so I've been dealing with that.
Better luck next time, Ice P-Man.
First Canadian problems. So I figured out a way to work around the ALSA underruns and play on Linux that caused the sound to get all garbled up. Turns out all I had to do was find the WinPulse Audio library, nuke the WineAlsa library, and symlink it to make Play on Linux believe it was using ALSA when in fact it was not.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah, that sounds like it will be problematic down the road.
It's
YOLO,
Play on Linux
bro.
only, so yeah.
And speaking of YOLO, I actually broke down and did a YOLO update on the Nexus 10 since I'm running nightlies of Cyanogen mod. And normally you would track down and find a nice stable nightly that everyone likes, run that. I figured I was just bored one night waiting on something to finish. I was like, this can go one of two ways. Either it's going to brick something, and I'm going to be up for an hour unfuxing it, or it's going to work and I'm going to spend an hour futzing around with the new stuff. It worked. Good on that. Good on Cyanogen Mon team. Love you lot. And that's about it. I didn't quite feel like a whore, but I know a man who can do some whoring.
Oh yeah, I can do all sorts of whoring, and I don't have Dumbcumster on the back of this shirt, but that can be arranged. And you can also arrange checking out LinuxGameCast.com. Got our podcast page. Oh, no. That got moved around. Click on the forums button to join Chat Realm statically linked. We got our lovely little forum there filled with these lovely little denizens you see just below us if you're watching our video stream. You can join with any account. It's where we are the other 6 days of the week. We also have some kind of YouTube channel that is miraculously up, youtube.com/LinuxGameCast. We post all our videos and all our little episodes to that. So you can subscribe and get the train wreck as it comes out. And of course, if you love illegal immigrant work, you can check out our Facebook page.
With 102 likes. All right.
102 likes. We are the most popular thing on Facebook.
Brilliant.
But we also have our second favorite Kiwi, semi-beaten by the ugly stick, reddit.com/r/Linux_gaming. Check that out if you want more Linux gaming debauchery. But But for the real whoring, for the real putting tassels on our nipples and rubbing them in your face, check out linuxgamecast.com/podcast. We got some RSS feeds for you, but we also got, more importantly, Donato buttons. If you want to toss us a recurring donation, you get a credit at the end of this show. That's kind of fucked up, isn't it? You can show all your friends that you make poor financial decisions. But if you don't have enough money to continually support us, one-time donation will get us to put you on the little wall of shame up there, and you can join the glorious Linux PC Gaming Master Race. But yeah, apparently someone did that. Chris D sent us $20. So you make very poor financial decisions. You could go put a down payment on a squirt gun with that. But Ven, I hear there's some sort of smiling crocodile nonsense.
Well, when you think of crocodiles, you tend to think of, leather shoes. Well, crocodile leather, or just sparkly cowboy boots in general. But no, that's not the type of crocodile we're talking about. We're talking about a crocodile of savings hate. Check them out, HostGator.com. Some of the people who helped make this train wreck possible. And you know what? They're going to give you 20% off, but fuck that.
It.
Fuck
25% off.
25% off. LGC Week, FTW. Put that offer code in your seizure-induced keyboard typing.
You get some unlimited stuff, don't you? Unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth. And if you want to drunk dial someone at 4 o'clock in the morning, the technical support at HostGator will be glad to accept your marriage proposals.
That's right. HostGator cares, ladies and gentlemen. So, do us a favor, throw that business in that business, and we're going to get a little bit of the taste of that action. Plus, it's a good deal. We use them for our front end, so we're not just making up shit as usual.
Indeed. As usual. But you know what, Ben? I think you need to show me your papers.
Yes, the papers.
Papers!
It's like we have a contest. Oh, look, and another way of gift number 8. Papers, please. Now, this all started out because, P-Man was like, ooh, this runs really good on my calculator. I was like, well, let's see what kind of speeds we can generate. So here's the gist of this contest. What you need to do, the wet stinky rules, to win a copy of Papers, Please, is head over to Geekbench, download the free copy, show 2 Windows, Geekbench running, plus top. Then post your results. Boom, there they are. And we're going to decide who has the best score. And by best...
Wow, we already have some entries.
I mean lowest. So if you have such a miserable, horrible machine, maybe you can find an old triple EPC that you would like to turn into a glorious Linux gaming rig.
I'm sure I have a Pentium 2 kicking around here somewhere.
That's going to be in the show notes, so don't worry about tracking it down. But next week we'll announce the winner of that because we have.
But you know what? Speaking of papers, it looks like the horse came out of the Zyklon shower. He's feeling very refreshed. It has a very shiny coat. And seemed to have thrown down the gauntlet.
Oh.
Steam!
Lex!
Update
of the week. We're not kidding.
Warrior need food badly.
Gauntlet!
Yeah, so Warner Brothers is bringing Gauntlet to the Linuxes. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock for the past 30-odd years, Gauntlet is this game where you take control of, I don't know, some sort of fantasy character and kill stuff. Probably never heard of it. It's really, really obscure. Oh, who am I kidding? Everyone fucking knows Gauntlet. It had a failed reboot almost 10 years ago with Gauntlet Dark Legacy. But the original is back. And it's given me some forced flashbacks, to be perfectly honest. No, I mean, like, I get that this is how Gauntlet plays, and Forced is sort of inspired by Gauntlet-type games, but it's just the visual similarity is...
Right, I'm seeing
uncanny.
that.
It's weird. I would have thought they would have
like
sort of gone
Unity
with a
engine,
different art style, but it's Gauntlet. It's on Linux. I have no problem with this, ultimately.
I'm definitely down. Go ahead.
Just say one thing about this game, and please, oh please, let it not suck. Please.
Hopefully it won't. This is not the first foray Warner Brothers has into Linux publishing. Bastion.
Bastion. Yeah.
Bastion, yeah.
WB.
Bastion was pretty good. So
Yeah, definitely down with that. Let's just be honest. We're all going to buy this, right?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's classic arcade goodness.
And they followed me back on the Twitter net, so
Oh.
they're my new best friends.
Sweet.
I'm going to have to call them and say thank you. Give me free copies of the game.
So the funny thing is, I saw that and I'm just like, Red Warrior need food badly. And then at the end of the trailer, it's like, Warrior need food badly. Touche.
So
We are speaking the same language.
P-Man, what about Morrigan and Shrouds
Morrigan.
and
Coup.
Cuckoos?
Shroud of the Morrigan. I'm not exactly what a Morrigan. I don't know exactly what a Morrigan is. The only Morrigan I can remember is the one from Dragon Age. But since that game isn't on Linux, let's just focus on Coup. Coup is a self-punk.
Excuse me, Darkstalkers. Hello.
Oh right, I forgot about that one.
Phrasing.
But yeah, Coup is a self-punk action adventure set in a future Ireland ravaged by techno-magical war and economic collapse.
So
Humanity
2015.
clings on by using remnants of technology that survive.
So I'm instantly reminded of that one Family Guy skit where it's like Ireland before the invention of alcohol. We finally determined found a genetic source of clean energy. Hey, Finnegan just invented this thing. It's called whiskey.
Remember, you can send your hate mail to Jordan at LinuxGameCast.
Hi, IRA.
But yeah, this one is a steampunk sort of celt-based game. I wouldn't exactly call it an RPG. It looks more along the lines of Golden Axe.
Yeah, it looks like it's priced to sell at $4.49 in wet stinky cashes.
It is
Yeah,
10%
price is
off
right.
for the next 37 hours, so get on
full
that.
controller support. We're seeing more and more of that, which is always a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Not like in the game we're going to be reviewing this week, but we'll get into that a little bit.
boy.
Ooh.
Well,
So,
outside
so
of that,
Vet, are you the Lord and Master of the Sword?
well, witching as that is, this is still pending, but it's definitely downloadable, correct?
Oh,
sort of.
18 gigs of it.
18 gigajoules, or 15, but it's encrypted to balls and back. We don't know the exact story about the Steam release, when that's going to happen. I did watch the zero punctuation review on it, and it wasn't that great, but it looks like something that will actually give my 770s a proper run. I know P-Man's not ecstatic about it. Clocks in at $19.99. If you've been living under a rock, even I knew what a Witcher 2 was. Enjoy a captivating story, dynamic combat systems, and beautiful graphics in the second installment of the saga The Witcher, which means nothing to me, so tell me about it, P-Man. I've heard of it.
It's the original was an RPG made by CD Projekt based on the original Neverwinter Nights engine, the Aurora engine. And they sort of forked the Aurora engine and started doing their own thing, but The Witcher is the kind of RPGs that's overly complicated for the sake of being overly complicated. I tried to play the first and the second one several times, and I can never bring myself to finish them. You mentioned Yahtzee early on, and I think his review on the first Witcher is spot on. It's a goddamn MMORPG with single player only. It's got the repetitive kill X amounts of monster Y, and then bring the Z amounts of the thing they drop like 10% of the time back to the NPC. And the inventory system is a pain in the neck. I don't know.
Still, I mean, it's a AAA title, and it sort of came out of left field. I don't think anyone was really expecting The Witcher to come out on Linux.
No, I mean, that completely hit me in
Yeah.
the face unexpectedly, but it's nice to see these developers going, all right, shit, this Linux thing, all right, future-proof our engine, go ahead and get it running on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's no longer like, maybe it's like, all right, it's a real thing, right?
There's that whole SteamOS nonsense. We should probably support it.
and
at
the
some
Steam
point.
machines, those things that Valve's talking about. Yeah.
Well, you know what you can play on those Steam machines, P-Man?
A whole lot of Linux games. Well,
37
37
more
of them
games,
just
you would
got
think.
greenlit. on March the 19th, and wow.
I already see the quality in here. 8-bit Commando. Been waiting on that one.
Actual sunlight, the bane of video gamers everywhere.
The only game that's even
Wait. Is that a game called Amputee?
Yes.
It's time for
rehabilitation. I know what we're
rehabilitation.
doing next week.
You're a recovering amputee, Fitted. What is this quap with?
Yeah, it's not on Linux though, so.
Oh, well.
But yeah, the only game that even moderately tickled my interest was Whispering Willows.
Bone
It's sort of
Town,
an
Dig or
adventure.
Die.
A supernaturally adventure game, and from 37 Linux titles out of the 70 that they greenlit, or 75, only one even remotely interests me. Come on, just let it die already.
Bone Town. Mature edition, so you know it's quality.
Bone home. No, I'm kind of with P-Man on this. I mean, either put some fucking QA in that, or just kill it, because I'm tired of, like, having to sift through just shit lately. Yep. I mean, yay!
No. We need to increase the number of SteamOS compatible games in our library so we can sell Steam machines, because people really want to play Bone Town on Linux.
I'm telling you, man. So that's the thing.
Then
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want directions to the tobacconist.
Right. Well, unfortunately, my hovercraft is full of eels. Influent. Influent
Yeah.
is a language learning game focusing primarily on vocabulary, acquisition, and pronunciation. It's truly awesome, period.
You know what? This actually looks kind of interesting. I'm thinking of picking up the German version, so next week I can just start shouting broken German at Ven and make him feel physical pain. If I can do that, I think it's worth the $9.99 that I would spend on this.
It's worth $9.99, $9.99.
Oh no, you can buy them separately. All right. I was going to say,
if you actually read the Steam page, it says
it's
they all count
because
as sort of DLC.
Yeah,
But, you know, I do like the 999. You know, it has a ring to it.
Learn Deutsch for $9.99.
nine.
But
So-
this is cool. It's a type of software you don't typically see on Linux.
Right,
So,
I kind of like how they've done it. I mean, it pretty much walks you around in your own home or a home, presumably
And
that you've broken
you-
into and you're about to murder the family. But before you do, you want to be able to communicate them in your foreign tongue. So you get to pick up things, you know, like a brush. This is a brush. How do you say that in Portuguese?
Escova.
Fuck all idea. No one knows. It's a mystery that defies the ages. So that's a thing. It's influent. And check it out. I mean, like,
I do have to say the trailer does get a +1 for having sharks with laser beams strapped to their heads.
Yes.
all the things. So, science! Or
I got some girls.
or tentacles?
I heard you like anime girls and tentacles,
Pretty
and saving
much.
the worlds, and turn-based RPGs and visual novels.
Uh-huh. You just piled on everything I love right there. I'm going to
No,
go kill myself.
Look at the size of his erection.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very big, but it's impressive for Ven. Let's just put it that way.
So this is saving the world with science, right? And as P-Man puts out in the notes, it's like from 2009. What's the whole point of this? Schoolgirls fight aliens with the power of science. Like bullets, maybe? Or tentacles? Science clubs.
You know, bullets are science.
A classic
Combustion.
turn-based... all right. Something's going to get fucked in this, A. You can just tell. I mean, there's going to be some, you know, that's going to be happening. But, yeah, that's just creepy as balls, man. No, bad. Ugh.
You know what? If you're into that kind of game, it's there if you want it. And it's on Linux, so we can't really fault them.
How much is that going to set us back? Oh, it's 25% off, so it's only $3.74 science dollars. All right.
Yes.
You know, and price is right.
So when did this game come out? 2008?
2009.
2009.
Oh.
Actually, it came out at around the same time as my calculator did, so you can tell just
I'm
how
surprised they
outdated it
had enough
actually
time to
is.
port this juggernaut over in just 4 years.
Apparently, yeah. So, I don't know. This brings up the whole Steam curating their store argument all over again. And I'm starting to agree with what Total Biscuit's been saying for the last couple of months, that Valve has opened the floodgates, and while they were once very restrictive, now they let all the shit in. They've opened the floodgates, and now every publisher that has a game on Steam can just bring their back catalog to Steam. No QA, no nada. Shit.
Like I said, you got to fill up those Linux game coffers that you
Yeah.
can sell consoles. But I think that wraps it up for the horse. I think he's gonna dry off and go back under the deck. Coming up next, we got some Firefoxy goodness, we got some Mesa, and we got some BIOS
Ooh.
in the news section.
And now, with a horse carefully striding his way with the new and shiny paint job he got, we get into some news. And starting us off this week, we have something epic, don't we?
Yeah. So, basically, the Unreal Engine, Epic, the guys behind the Unreal Engine, have decided that they've had enough of Unity shit, and they're offering this pretty sweet deal. So, Unreal Engine 4, it's $20 a month. You have to pay 5% royalty, but that's really not too bad considering,
Yeah.
you know, it's reasonable, and considering it's like a real ass big boy engine that you're getting for $20 a month. You get full source code. Collaboration is powered by GitHub, and it fucking runs in Firefox.
Oh, yeah.
I heard you were slightly excited about that.
Oh, okay. So Linux support is inbound, but again, it doesn't really matter because it will run on anything that Firefox is compiled on, which is basically everything.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I mean, one thing I was looking at, definitely cool with the full engine and source. They're going to be rolling that business out. Price to sell, $19 a month. So that means even your struggling college kid can pick that up. 5% royalty. I was like, you guys are fuck-mothering geniuses on that one. Because,
Yep.
what if the next goat simulator is Unity?
Yeah.
Cha-ching, right.
And I mean, 5% is entirely reasonable.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. No ETA landing on when we're going to get that now wet, stinky mitts, but good. Because we already seen, Unreal 3 with some issues with some games, mostly shader support, taking ever to be compiled in Middle Earth. Outside of that, but if they're looking at this and, Unreal's like, fuck it, man, we're going to do Android, we're going to do Linux too, we're just getting to it. Good on that lot, man. Definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Epic is definitely doing it right with Unreal 4, and I'm really excited to see what will come out of that.
Maybe you might even be able to watch a video about it.
So normally Pedro's the one doing the AMD proprietary driver news, but I gotta chomp at this one. So AMD 14.3 beta v 1.0 driver is out. I've updated my Steambox to use that. They have a couple fixes here. Most importantly for me, Xorg crashed during playing an AVI video file in VLC. How long has this bug been around for?
It's been around, at least I've run into it since around 2008 or 2007, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and they finally got around to fixing that. Good for them. At least I can watch the entirety of House of Cards without having to restart my VLC instance, which is nice.
But I hear Long National Nightmare is over.
Oh yeah. They fixed a bunch of stuff with NextSqueeze because we've been dreading that.
Ubuntu performance is lower than Red Hat, and Linux performance is lower than Windows. I wonder who's to blame for that.
But that's it's a real boy. I've tried it out. It works fairly well on the Steam box. I haven't run a benchmark, but I found out that they do make low profile 750 Ti's, so I'm gonna get one of those.
Yeah. P-Man, I heard you still had an issue with something about ogres.
Yeah, namely FGLRX support with Ogre 3D games like Open Morrowind, which we'll be talking about a bit later on in the show. I submitted a bug report to their bug reporting thing. I can't remember the name. About a year ago, regarding when 13.4 came out, that every single Ogre 3D game segfaults at the start. It doesn't even start properly. You just see the window and it immediately closes. And I posted a bug report saying that and showing, the logs and the S traces of 3 or 4 different Ogre 3D games, and they have yet to acknowledge it. So I wonder when that'll be fixed.
That's because it's a feature, not a bug. But you have some good news on the
Yes, we do. Going from the proprietary drivers to the open source drivers, if you're using Fedora or Corora like I am, or really any of the other Fedora forks at this point, good news for you AMD folks out there, because now Mesa 10 is available from the repo. It's stable. It works stupidly well. No more messing around with Dry 3 if you're trying to compile it from source. It's in the repo. You just install it, update it. It runs super smooth.
So, to fulfill all your dreams, is everything just working? I saw you posting on the Googles.
Yes. Skyrim, still can have anti-aliasing enabled on Skyrim, but Fallout 3, on the other hand, it went from medium-ish settings, like at playing at 30 frames per second, to running on Ultra with 4 times anti-aliasing at constant 60 frames per second. And that's in Wine alone.
Well, that's good to hear, but, unfortunately, J-Man and I both have real video cards, but go ahead.
No, you know what? I actually like the development of the open source AMD driver, because again, one day in the far future, I'm going to build the Linux box. I'm just going to stick an AMD card in there and boot it, and I won't have to mess with drivers.
We'll be in the home.
But I mean, it's getting to that point, and that really excites me. It really does.
Well,
but I hear that BIOS is getting a nod from the good old games.
I know. Talk about showing up to the party late, but good old games, GOG.com, soon on more platforms. There's a picture of a penguin, so clearly it means OS 400. No, don't duck. Pretend to care. This is actually good news. We just wanted to announce that after much deliberate, we figured out this Linux thing's going to stick around. We decided the next step for us is to support Linux, because we can probably make some money off of it. You remember when we were just fucking with you, like year before last, we're like, we have this new mysterious platform. And everybody's like, yay! And
Mac.
Fucking Mac? But no, this just really reminds me of like the kids showing up, at the party like 2 hours late, being like, hey, everyone look at me, and I'm just like, hang on, pull Gabe's dick out of my mouth. I'm like, yeah, that's cute. I got to get back to work. So, what are your thoughts on this, B-Man?
You know what I hate is that everyone, or at least most people on Linux_gaming, are just about ready to drop their pants and bend over GOG.com's promise of Linux by the end of the year. And it's just a promise, because for all we've seen, there's no confirmation, there's nothing. And everyone's praising them over something they had stubbornly and repeatedly decided not to support. But hey, they may have Linux support by the end of the year. Better open up your mouth or you're gonna miss the money shot.
Well, J-Man, what's the advantage of GOG doing Linux? I know they have old games or something, right?
They do have a lot of old games, but what I think they're gonna do, because a lot of their Windows games are actually just DOSBox wrappers, so I think they're just gonna end up packaging a lot of those, which I have no objection to. It would be nice to buy a game and not have to fuck around with DOSBox configs, but they say in their article that there is 100 Linux games inbound on their service. So I guess we'll wait and see. I do like the little comment at the bottom of this article. If you scroll all the way down, there's this little guy, his name is Zakonos, and he says, I hope the game in files tar.gz or bin. If you choose only a distro.deb or .rpm, oh no! Many games in the GOG catalog have a native Linux version in .bin and .tar.gz. So I've brought this up before, but if you're going to package games specifically for operating systems, if you don't have to build it from source, you have the existing files and you just need to drop them in locations. Packaging these things for debs and RPMs is stupid easy.
Yeah,
and to a degree, I agree. You should really provide a .tar.gz. I'm not a fan of those stupid ass installers, because those are that Humble used to use. Oh, those are just awful. But but again, if you're gonna package them, definitely provide. It's not difficult to provide a deb and an RPM. You don't have to pick just one. In fact, there are tools. OpenSUSE actually provides a great one. It's called OBS, that will spit out a package for every single distribution.
Well,
period. But you know what I don't hate about this?
What don't you hate about this?
Competition. Assuming GOG will try to make their Linux games with as much Q&A as their Windows counterparts, this is probably going to force Valve to get their shit together and actually get a Q&A department for their fucking store.
Quality and assurance? Yes. Or not just
I'm definitely
assurance.
in that bag, more competition is better, but there's still with me a lot of just genuine, you guys have so not been cool about Linux for so long. Yeah. Maybe we can mend that. Maybe we can get some, bring it in for a hug later on. But right now, I give fuck all about anything until I see it.
Yeah.
But again, we got. You know what? We'll see. And like Ben said, competition is good. But coming up next, we have, again, the craziest fucking project.
It's like a disease that won't go away.
Open Morrowind.
Speaking of diseases,
why don't you tell them about the new release?
Yep. Open Morrowind is now on version 0.29, and speaking of diseases, you can now get STDs. Well, maybe not STDs, but the
our
disease
long
system.
national nightmare is over. You can get horse answer gates in Morrowind now.
Yep. They've implemented the disease system. They've also implemented the AI for NPCs to interact with the world and move around. They've also implemented a couple of combat-related fixes. Namely, creatures actually attack you now, and blocking works the way it did in Morrowind, which was always that sort of random factor type thing. You also get load and save games. It still has issues. If you watch their video, they actually mentioned that the loads and save games from past versions do not work with this one because they had to rework it, and it's not perfect yet. But it's getting there, so fingers crossed.
And again, this project is that sort of
this is the definition of madness.
It's not. It doesn't quite work, but it's getting there, and that's the cool thing.
I was just looking at this. I mean, just looking at this video from the first time we mentioned this on LinuxGameCast.
Jaw drop. It's like, oh, they're actually doing this. All right.
And looking at the progression of where it's came from just all right, we kind of have a world. You can kind of move in it. Shit doesn't work. To what we just saw in that video.
Which is almost pre-alpha level. Like I said a couple of weeks back, with a bit of luck, we'll have an actual playable version, even if it's just a beta, by the end of the year. And that makes me happy. Oh, and there's a known issue with this particular version, which is Slaughterfish Fly.
And that's
Right.
from openmorrowind.org. Now, do keep in mind you need the original media assets for that, and there's multiple ways
You
to
can
go.
pick that up on Steam, and
Right.
there's that scripty thing that'll get the assets for you. We mentioned it in an episode of Linux Gamecast a couple of weeks ago, so you should definitely rewatch all our episodes.
And if you're using Lutris, it can do that for you too.
Oh yeah, Strider's little baby. But coming up next, we have gigantic problems with a gigantic army. So you should stick around for our review.
Because pixels.
And pickles. And we're back throwing gigantic chairs at gigantic army by the developers Astroport. It is a C++ game ported with DX portlib, and you can pick it up on Steam for $5.99 or whatever your regional equivalent of it is. And according to his own, Gigantic Army is a heartfelt homage to 16-bit era mech shooters such as Cybernator, Assault Suits Vulcan, Metal Warriors, and Front Mission. I remember Front Mission. So, of course, we have our crazy-ass 4-chair metric. Cue the chair explanation. 1 chair means that it's complete garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means you should probably check it out. And 4 chairs means, oh my god. Oh my god. I just spewed acid everywhere. But we also have our 4 categories of doom to which we rate our games. We have mixed with the working. How does it work? How does it run under the Linuxes? We have a couple different distributions we test on. Shiny and sounds, the auditory and visual mumbo jumbo that we all know and love. Controls is self-explanatory, and our final subjective category is fun, whether we enjoyed it or not. So, to kick this off, Ven, did Gigantic Army make with the working on your gigantic computer?
It made with such gigantic working on a computer of giganticness. I mean, it's like brilliant. This is our Ubuntu minimum test box, 1204, 770 powered system of business, as I like to call it, because it's in the business of giving the business, and the business is good.
It's nothing personal. It's just business.
It's all business. Didn't have any issues with it. Fired up out of the box, but, you know, something like this, I was a bit sketchy about it at first after reading how it was, you know, ported with this, and one guy came up with a bunch of neat tools to do it, and I was like, all right, fine, it worked. No issues with it, so I'm going to give it what it deserves. 4 chairs, but something tells me that's not going to be happening a lot.
Well, I gave this the beans on my A10 5800K powered Steam box, on my i5 30 some odd K with the NVIDIA 620M laptop, and my AMD Thuban 1090T with a NVIDIA 670 superclocked, all running Fedora 2064-bit, and it worked on all of them. Though there is one caveat: if you are using an Optimus laptop, you do gotta disable the Steam overlay, otherwise you get a bit of the crashiness. Pedro? Oh wait, no, that I didn't give my chair rating. 4 chairs. Yeah, Pedro.
Yeah, so on my calculator with an i3 370M and an ATI 5650 HD running the open source Mesa 10 drivers, it ran out of the box, no issues. On my old desktop PC with an NVIDIA 5600 GS, it also ran out of the box, no problems. So 4 chairs.
All right, well, that's 4 chairs from Niquist with the working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. That's a bit weird. Ven, why don't you start off?
It's like I'm almost just fucking with you, isn't it? So
no, right?
Shiny and Sounds, let's take a little windowed view at this, and when I first looked at it, I was like, yeah, this does harken back to the 16-bit era of games, and it doesn't feel forced. What was that hipster RPG thing?
Saturday morning
right.
RPG
Yeah.
coded in Unity with the weird pixel but 3D background thing.
That was so forced. It was miserable. But this actually looked legit. I mean, this is something that you could take to your mother and she would let you marry it. Didn't have any issues with the way it looked because it reminded me, I had a Neo Geo, I had the TurboGrafx 16, I had a Genesis, and it reminds me of that era. And it wasn't like a 2 gig game to make this. I mean, they kept it to about 100 megs, and I was like, well, this is either going to be complete shit or it's going to look just right. And I think it looked just right. Some of the level designs, the way they looked, I'm going to ding it 1 for that. But, yeah, sounds, they're there. They're a bit higher quality than I would come to expect, but meh. 3 chairs. Look at that.
Oh my god!
Snow and hell.
A hipster pixel game that gets more than 1 chair. That. Anyways, aneurysms aside, I do have to agree with Ben. It does look like a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis game. The background, I do have to give the backgrounds credit. They do look like they're right out of that era, and a lot of the times there isn't that much detail in the background.
And the bosses.
But this, the bosses really do harken back to the whole "holy shit, this thing's massive." But I mean, for what it is, it's pretty good. The music, I was not really a fan of. I actually can't think of anything specific just because I heard it and then I blocked it out. So when I do that, there's generally something screechy and terrible that makes me want to stick knives in my ears. But all in all, it works for what it is. It's nothing revolutionary, but I mean, like there are beautiful 16-bit games out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of them. I would say this is more your standard 16-bit fodder. So I would give it 2 chairs. It's a good middle of the road score. It doesn't do anything particularly wrong, but it doesn't do anything awesome either.
You know what this game does? It combines the old graphics, the 16-bit era type graphics, with the brown and the grays and the dark greens of realistic, high-quality games.
And Arabs.
Everything is either brown or gray or dark green. Then the guns sound like you're just spitting on a pea shooter and they feel like that too. Most enemies, they just die as soon as anything blows on them, but the guns themselves sound so weak. 2 chairs.
All right. So that is 2 whole chairs for Shiny and Sounds. That's the middle of the road score. Coming up is Control. Then I heard this is the most precision-controlled game in the history of all games. It makes Guacamelee look like a pile of shit.
I know. You want to talk about tightening up the graphics? No. We need to tighten up the controls. I gave this a go with my X-Clone controller, which is a knockoff because I refuse to give Microsoft money directly. Here's how this went down. Well, I just might have to bring this back out. These, for this game, I like to call these suggestion sticks because that's what they are. I mean, the idea of precision or speed or anything like that is lost in translation, which I would have a whole different rant on that. Apparently, you can use this with the keyboard, maybe with the wireless gerbil. I have no idea. It did work out of the box with that, but the controls are so horrendous. The thing, when you think about a 16-bit shooter, you think about twitchy, moving, boom, 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 boom. Fuck you, that's
Precise
why I type
movement.
action.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't precise, it was fast, and it made you like, shit. You know, that's why we're all twitchy and ADD squirrel. And this is like me trying to fucking, race dick after I've had 3 bottles of wine. It's slow and painful to watch, but I still try, and this game still tries, but, it fails miserably. 1 chair. Oh, you get.
All right, so I have 2 experiences with this game. So I tried this out on the Steam box. I plugged in this seizure-tastic controller here. Yeah, it's caught up on the microphone stand. I think it's radioactive. I feel something funny in my prostate.
Either that or it contains a human soul.
Yeah.
It's like my JO crystal. Anyways. So I gave this a whirl, and the controller didn't work. And I said, well, this sucks. So I picked up the wireless keyboard I have out there. And lo and behold, it's the standard emulator, controls arrow keys and ZX, C, blah, 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 blah. And the first thing you notice is that if you need to aim up, it takes a good 2 seconds for you to move your reticule.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you have to go fight the first boss. It's like, oh, there's a bunch of adjustments you need to make. All right, let me do those. Okay, they're done. Let's move. So I was very tempted to give it the 1 chair, but then these clowns told me, what the hell are you talking about? Controller support works. So I go and I plug Seizure Controller 9000 into this box here. And lo and behold, it works. And it actually works kind of decently. I think they may have released a patch to correct the control issues. So it actually does control a bit better, but the layout is a bit screwy. Why is your fire button A and not B? Because A is your jump button. Doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to give this 2 chairs for control.
Strange remappings and sweet mother of unresponsiveness. Jordan already kind of mentioned this, but you push up on your thingy, you push up, and the reticule doesn't move up. You need to move to one of the sides, and then it goes, oh yeah, right, you want it to go up, and it'll start going up. What the fuck? And seriously, the layout is completely ass backwards. I'm sorry, but this is 2014. I've come to expect a certain degree of, reliability from my controller. And even though I'm using a PS2 DualShock on Linux, which I'm well aware is not exactly well supported,
you keep saying that, but they did release a Linux dev kit for the PlayStation 2. I feel obligated to bring that up.
Yeah, but most of the times with most games, it doesn't work, while it works generally well with the Xbox controller, because the Xbox controller is apparently what everyone else has. So yeah, I understand that my controller may not be well supported, but I'm not the only one having issues. If you go to the Steam forums, everyone's having them. I'm going to give it 2 chairs because the controllers do work, but they're not responsive at all.
So that looks like it'll be a 1 chair for the control section. That's not looking too good. And finally, our subjective category, fun. Ven, did this tickle your asshole?
I wanted this to be fun. That's why I purchased all the copies. And I was like, all right, this is going to be a fast little sit-back, mindless experience of just mayhem, bullets, and mayonnaise, with a possible appearance by Airwolf. Those are my dreams. I'm sorry, we're talking about this pile of shit. That is gigantic whatever. I've already forgotten the name. Therapy. Good deal. No. There's no fun in this, mainly because it gives you the promise. I know everyone in chat room flipped the fuck out when I was like, all right, yeah, it's got the look, but it's got the look right. And if you do hipster pixel right, 16-bit's really not hipster pixel. 8-bit is, well, pseudo 8-bit is, Fox 8-bit is. This is, running this bullshit unknown Japanese engine that only does this. So it's kind of hard to say you're trying to make it look like this. That's pretty much all this fucking engine can do. Fun. No, controls suck. They're absolute rubbish. Fortunately, The AI is dumb as dirt. So you have all this time because you're going to need it to aim and move. And you move so slowly. I was just, really, truly didn't enjoy it. And your weapon selection, you're like, okay, you can have this gun, this gun, this gun. And that's about it. Shield, blocking things, boss fights are boss fights. I gave this as much time as I could, and even at such a low price, no. Run from this. It will make disparaging remarks about your mother. One chair. J-Man.
Yeah, I mean, the AI is pretty stupid. You can just kind of sit there with the scatter gun for a good 5 minutes and just clear out anything on screen. And that's about as long as it'll take you to re-aim anyways, so you might as well just do that. I don't know. I never really had any particular nostalgic attachments to these giant robot games. I liked Robotech for the Game Boy Advance, but that had some variability because you could turn into like a spaceship or like the hybrid or the mech. But that's beside the point. This game doesn't really do it for me. I think it's not entirely unsalvageable. Maybe a patch or two would fix that, but we're looking at the game as released, and the controls, like Ben said,
I don't think it needs a hard mode. It just needs a faster mode.
Yeah,
it needs like, well, I mean, like not even the Super Nintendo is that slow. Fucking Mode 7's the shit out of whatever this game is. But yeah, this game doesn't really do it for me. I'll give it one chair. It could do better, and that's what's more disappointing about it.
Yep. Everything is slow. So fucking slow. Seriously,
Just like
I had
Pedro.
more fun looking this game up on Steam charts than I fucking did playing it. Seriously, go look it up. There's like an average of 3 people over the last month playing it. Last time I checked, there were 0 people currently playing it. So yeah,
Well, now there's 3 people playing it.
the fuck. Oh well, whole 3 of them.
300% increase.
Stay the fuck away. One chair.
All right, so that's one chair for fun. And if we tally all this nonsense up, we get a final score of 2 chairs. No? Yeah, 2 chairs.
2 chairs.
2 chairs. So, final thoughts. Like I said, this game has potential. It's not completely unsalvageable. It could be fixed. But this kind of stuff needs to be hammered out in this thing we like to call the development phase of the video game.
Yeah.
Where you identify all these problems and then you correct them
No, not
before
being
you ship it out and give
concerned
it to
with any of
people
that.
to
Yeah,
buy.
they were definitely, good on the work of getting that particular hipster obscure engine that I'd not even heard of over to Linux. Poor execute. Maybe just a shit game. I don't want to blame the engine. It's slow. It feels like you're traveling in a pool of sick or something like that. Just muddy and all that, hazy. No, don't buy it. Like J-Man said, you're not going to have fun with it because it's not what it promises. I mean, especially if you're of my vintage, you're expecting like a fast-paced little bullet hell shooter fly. Brr. No, this is like it's been specially tailored for children with a bit of Down syndrome that have issues with things like refined motor skills. But speaking of refined motor skills,
Yeah, this game.
I see what you did there.
No. But yeah, the game needs a faster mode. It definitely needs to be faster because I was playing it and I'm like, okay, the last game like this I actually played and enjoyed was Metal Slug. And you got your guys running around, and then you could get into tanks, and you could get into choppers, and you could get into camels and all that. And I enjoyed it.
Get to camels. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So I enjoyed it. But this game, it's so slow. Seriously. even the dash, if you dash, you move like 3 meters in front of yourself, and that's it. Why? Who in the development team play tested the game and thought, yeah, you know what? This slow is good. Slow is really good.
I'm gonna say whiskey.
No, I'm sorry, but I can't recommend this game at this point. Nope.
All right, so that's a 2-chair game with do not buy recommendation. Coming up next, we have Puffy Controls and Sore Losers on our hate mail section.
Hello, boys and girls. Are we done with the chairs? Yes, we are. This time, we got some hate mail in your face, Oregon. So, just a quick reminder, if you'd like to get in touch with us, proceed on to LinuxGameCast.com, push that contact button in the nav bar up there, and fill out your name, fill out your email, give us a subject, give us your message, prove you're smarter than a bot, the usual. Just be sure, if you're trying to promote your crowdfunding campaign or Steam Greenlight or whatever, include a playable Linux demo, because if you do not, we do not mention your shit. Capiche? All right.
We actually just make fun of you and make jokes at your
So we apparently
expense.
have some puffy controls this week.
Yes, so this is from Nice Peter, not Nick Peter. I can't beat today. Saw your review of PPG Defenders of Townville. This is not the first game to use buttons to shoot in different directions. The one it reminds me of is Section Z for the NES. It's not lazy programming, and it does add something to control, being able to move in one direction while shooting in another. While PPG was easy as pie to beat, I dare you to finish Sector Z and only shoot in the direction you face. I understand that such technical controls can be difficult to master, but once you do, the benefits are obvious. Love you! So,
back in 1993, there was a game called Doom, and it lets you fire in one direction while moving in the other using only one firing button. And now that you mention it, because I know that the argument is coming that Doom 3 is that 2.5 sort of D bullshit, here's a current sort of controller. You see, there's two thumbsticks right there, and this one usually controls the movement, how you want your character to move. This one is usually reserved for camera control or aiming, which
but Pedro, everyone only has a Super Nintendo controller.
Yeah, apparently. So yeah, if you wiggle this thing, you can usually aim in different directions and use only, say, one of the triggers to shoot. Maybe?
Well, I'm going to tell you where you lost me, Peter, is technical controls. This brain organ up here. Technical controls do not involve a fucking controller. A. That's for bitches and little chitlins. B. There was no need for that in this game. It's not. No. Maybe on like an old fuck you. That's why,
Shmup.
Right, something like that. This was just bad. It's not like the LGC review train cruised the fuck into your house and we were the only one out of the billions that are like, this game's complete shit. The controls are complete shit. No, we were in line behind everyone else. And we're like, this game is complete shit. The controls are complete shit. So, choo-choo, motherfucker. Thought
And...
I have nothing really to add to that.
Yeah.
But up next, we have the T-douche. So we know Pedro is very, very jealous when it comes to his boyfriends. So he got into a little argument with Mr. Tom Duchesne, who was once upon a time a fan of our show, but has since gone his own way. And if you wanna check out this entire spiel, you can check out Pedro's Google Plus page. We'll get to that at the end of the episode. But Mr. T-Douche says, talk about hitting some nerves, find yourself in a mirror. What I disagree with is when someone talks about something they have no experience with. Your show should focus on Linux games. I quit listening when it dissolved into pure elitist grandstanding. Is it or is it not true that LinuxGameCast looks down on Windows users, dual booting Linux users, and even Linux users who don't use distros you all approve of? It doesn't help the Linux gaming community. All it does is reinforce bad stereotype the rest of the world has about Linux users. So I know Pedro has his retort. He's been going back and forth with this guy. So let me just mention a few points. Have you ever heard of something called Poe's Law? It states that satire becomes so dense that you can't actually tell it from the real thing. We don't actually hate dual booters. We don't actually hate people who use Ubuntu or Arch. It's an act. It is something to make the show more entertaining by making cheap jokes at certain communities. I certainly have no issue with people who want to dual boot and play their Windows games. I certainly have no issues with people who use Windows. And I certainly have no issues with people who use Arch or Ubuntu. I may have issues with those individual pieces of software, but that is more where my criticism comes from, at least personally. There is also the whole... I don't know that. Oh man, I had a point and then it just slipped my mind.
You know, I'm reading through this and I'm looking at it. And it's like, disagree with someone talks about something I have no experience with. What the fuck do you mean? What do I not have experience with? You Arch using dual booting peasant to counteract everything.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Jordan just said, I don't even know what Poe's Law is, and nor shall I. Because, no, I'm a Linux gamer. I've been a Linux gamer since 1995. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with people playing games on Windows. Don't have an issue at all, but when somebody was like, yeah, I'm a Linux user, Linux all the things, man, you know, Linux left and right, fuck, I got Linux, I need to reboot to play it because the latest game just came out and it's only on Windows. I'm going to play that on Windows. So, you know what, fuck you, eat a bag of dicks. For me, personally, that's an issue, because I don't do that. You know, I've lived... What do they say? What's the adage? Walk the walk, talk the talk. In the
ghetto of Linux gaming.
Right. Been there. I am still there. And so I'm like super excited, even when we get things like Portal 1 or Portal 2. I'm like, well, I've never played this before. And I can say that because, you know, I'm kind of an elitist like that. And by elitist just means, you know, I practice what I preach, son. Now tell me about your issues, brother.
Here's the thing. This discussion of sorts started because last night I said that Titanfall didn't exactly live up to the hype. It was a Source game that EA, being EA, refused to port to Linux. But that's not even the reason that I said it didn't live up to the hype. It didn't live up to the hype for a number of very obvious reasons. Anyone that has played the game,
you mean
or
the
even
part where
seen
you like
people playing the
parkour
game?
around for no fuck all reason, then your Titans show up?
Yeah. And the evacuation ships are indestructible, and your Titans are made of cardboard and spit, so they get destroyed pretty easily. There's a number of issues with that game, but it's not on Linux, so we're not going to mention much. Tom, on the other hand, seems to like it very much, and as soon as I said it didn't live up to the hype, he went to Google Plus claiming that I hated it, and that I hated it because it was on the X-Bone and it wasn't on Linux, and then, of course, I had to tell him off. You can read the whole thing, it'll be on the show notes. There'll be a link to the whole post. Feel free to chime in. I love a good discussion, I really do.
So that's that. I mean, I guess, you know, no butt hurt all around, but yeah, this is Linux Gamecast. The fuck do you expect? I mean, seriously? Kind of at a loss. It's like earlier we were talking to Mungumbo. He's like, well, there's a flaw in your chair review system. I was like, think about this for a moment. we're using a chair review system, lawn chairs. So once you apply that thought, the rest of your shit just kind of goes out of the window in Logicsville because we don't live there. I hate to break it to you. But Logicsville's done because cue that music, and
Because
it's time
queuing music.
to talk about where you can find us. I'm Vince Stone, cleverly disguised at Vince Stone on the Twitter nets, plus Vince Stone on the G pluses, and this sexy beast right here, the J-Man.
Yeah. You can find me rubbing my nipples every week and making inappropriate comments about dwarves at The Burning Fool on Twitter or plus Jordan Svung on Google+. And finally, this. I want to call it priest bait.
Some Latino love, wouldn't you say? Yes.
Priest bait.
So I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, or usually getting into discussions with people who have no idea what they're getting themselves into, or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
So I guess that wraps it up, and at the end of the day, let's just throw our imaginary Steve Ballmer chairs of love at the people.
Developers! 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 Ah! Developers!
Develop.
Yeah, that didn't freak out the audio recording at all. No.